So I'll be there, but I will. But because we got to make sure that people watch your show.
Okay,
So we're
gotcha.
good. Ready to start?
All right. Yeah,
All right,
let's
here we
do it.
go.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
Well, here we go. It's the man that promises you nothing and delivers. It's the veritable man motor mouth. It's Road Woods who feels the need to call himself Robb Vega. It somehow makes him feel important. Anyway, do have a listen and try not to throw up.
Hey, we're back.
Do. Hey,
How you doing?
exciting times for you, Mr. Stephen.
I am good. I'm good. I just got back from a trip, so I literally got an hour's
All
worth of
right.
sleep, and I'm here. I'm here for the
You should come
fans.
out. You should come out here sometime. It's a good place. It's got
I-
some strange administration, but the people are great. That's all I can say. Yeah,
Well, it's all about the peoples.
it is. It is all about the peoples.
Yeah, that's all I
And I'm just going to jump straight in because we're going to keep it a short one today.
We have a short
get
show
right to
because
it.
you're a popular guy today. He has to go in front
Oh,
of
yeah.
the Viagra
I know
Commission.
stuff going on.
That's exciting. Yeah.
What did you say about Viagra? What?
No, nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, and they're off to a good start. All right, there we go. Well, it is.
Hey, listen, I'm
school
working on
arts
3 hours of
entertainment.
sleep. Good luck with this.
No, that's fine. Yeah, good. Well, I've just done I've been up for about 9 hours. Got up at
rubbing it in.
4.
Yeah.
Done a radio show. We've got this big fundraising thing tomorrow, so I'm on the other side of the tired spectrum. But let's just see how we go. All right.
Cool. All right.
So, okay, let's just open up the box and see what comes out. So, I just wanted to kick this off by saying,
yes.
it sort of ties in with your I guess the elections in a way. It sort of ties in with the mindset. It sort of ties in with things that I've thought about, and I'm sure a lot of people haven't. So I'll get right to it. I want to know at what point on this ridiculous planet of ours,
Yeah.
Is that a jet flying over you, or is it me?
It's you.
Oh, it's me. Okay, we got jets flying over. Oh, they heard me. Right.
The
So I want to
invasion's
know
coming. Congratulations.
the minions are coming. No, they're actually, we've got them already. They're sitting by the pool. Yeah. All right. So I want to know at what point that there have been so many rights movements,
Mhm.
all valid, not a problem. I just want to know, to do with race, to do with gender, to do with
Sure.
tribes, to do with countries. There's always somebody that's not doing so well and somebody who's oppressing them, and then they stop oppressing them, and then we have 300 years of apologies, which just go on and on and on and on and on and on. And recently, Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, he went to the meeting of Commonwealth Nations, and he said, "Look, we're not chatting about reparations." And obviously, everyone got upset about that. And he said, "We're not apologizing. We'll discuss other things, but we're not. There's no reparations. First of all, where's it supposed to come from? And
Right.
second of all, that was hundreds of years ago, and people obviously are sticking to that. So my question is this, and obviously you've got the same thing there in the US, and we've, to a lesser or greater extent, we've got that here. So I know what people are saying. Yeah, you can say that. So I'm going to say it. I want to know at what point is it okay to be who you are? When do we have to stop apologizing for something
Right.
that we didn't do? When can we compete on an equal footing? Because that's what I think we all want ultimately.
Right.
Because people certainly here and in other parts of the world will say, yeah, you have an unfair advantage. People always have advantages. LeBron James's son, Bronny James, has an advantage.
Right.
I mean, yes, would he have played if he wasn't LeBron James' son? I don't know. We'll never know. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Right.
They lost, but anyway,
Right.
that's my point. People have advantages. That's just how it works out. There's always some rich guy who's got a kid who gets advantages, and he's got a trust fund, and that's just how it is. That's called, we are all different, and we
Right.
all of different intelligences and so on. But the thing that really I'm starting to get a bit, I'm sympathetic, and I will work with people to, and I've said this before, I will work with people to uplift, educate, do whatever, help, etc. But what happens to me? I'm sitting in a situation now where a lot of, I wasn't even born in this country. A lot of what is going on here is to do with the way I look. A lot of things have been taken away from me.
Could you
And
wear
I can
glasses?
hear people,
Because you wear glasses.
Yeah, that's what it is. It must be. Well,
Yeah.
that's for reading. I mean, there
Oh,
I'm fine, but yes, for reading, yes, exactly. And I can see you clearly. Maybe I should take my glasses off. I'm not sure. But
I
but it
feel the
just gets
loss.
to the point, and it's I think it ties into some extent of what's going on in the US. I think there are a lot of people who
Right.
are just. I think people are basically they're basically selfish. They care
Mm,
about their families and food
right.
and whatever. They not everybody. I mean, you hear people talk about how philanthropic they are and we care about the world. You don't. You don't have that time. You don't know.
Yeah.
It's okay. You can't possibly care about the entire planet. We've got religion for that, so that's fine.
Right.
Don't worry about it. We're good.
Right.
So you just get on with what you do, compete, educate yourself, read, um, and be involved, and that's all you can do.
Right.
And but if you start that situation at this mandated disadvantage because of something people that looked like you did 300 years ago, whatever it was,
Hmm.
well, that's a problem because eventually, when does that stop? I want to know, when does that stop? What do we do? What do people who um, are considered former oppressors? What happens to us when all the opportunities and advantages are taken away and we hand them over?
Right.
And then do we just what happens then? I mean, I work as a voice in this particular country, and there is a strong move to replace people that look like me.
Okay.
I mean, it's to do with what I sound like, and I understand the political motivation for that. But that's all very well. But what happens to those people?
Right.
And I've to uh, make a plan, get by, do whatever with all my advantages, and but it does speak to an issue where I think when people go to the polls in your country next week,
Yeah.
that's a factor. They're going, I wasn't part of slavery and I didn't do any of
Right.
these things, but I'm what? I'm a target of this hate of this. What is that? What did I do? And
Mhm.
yeah, but your forefathers, screw my forefathers. I mean, even my
Oh,
father, whatever, you
yeah.
know. And I just think that I think we're creating a situation where there's a giant pendulum that's going to swing the other way. What happens when people just say, okay, you know what, enough?
They
We
already
wanted
are.
to work with you. We wanted to work with you. We wanted to be a part of a solution. We are quite willing to give of our time, our resources, our advantages, and be involved. But for you to just take away our pie, what do we do then? What about
Right.
our kids? And and no one is interested in that because it's not politically expedient, and it looks good if you're some sort of a
An activist.
conversational punching bag for
Yeah.
formerly oppressed people, of which you had no part.
Right.
And it's just getting to the point. I think you can see it in the world. You can see it in Europe. You can see people swinging the other way, and that's another reality show, by the way. But
Okay.
they're swinging the other way, and I just think that's dangerous.
Hmm.
I think if you want, let people show you how they made the pie. Don't take their pie away. I
Right.
just the sins of the father shit just goes on and on and on and on. And you can see it playing out at the Commonwealth, you can see it playing out in Europe, you can see it playing out in the US. And just to sort of tie it back to your part of the world, I
Right.
think a lot of people there are very sympathetic to abuses, to civil rights issues. I think they care. They're like, oh, that's bad. They don't
Hmm.
want that. Who wants that? No one wants that. No one
Right.
should be oppressed. But we got rid of that now. So it's gone. But
Right.
now you're coming after me. You're coming after me for some sort of a payback. No, that's not going to work. So I'm not going to vote for a guy who's going to make sure that doesn't happen. And you creating a problem. You're
Hmm.
creating a problem that has such a potential for a solution. Anyway, go. That's my
So,
toss of the coins
and and
stones into the river lake.
repatriation or reparation, whatever they want to call it. So, in America, I think we with the American Indians, we did kind of steal everything from them. So I think when they, did what they did for them,
Yeah,
I
but
think
you didn't, Steve. You
what,
people in the
I'm good with.
past did.
I
I'm
understand.
very sympathetic, but
But
you
they had,
didn't.
right,
That's
and
the
I'm
problem with
okay.
the
They
language.
didn't. The American
Yeah,
Indians didn't say I Steven stole from them. They just said, "Hey, the
yeah,
government did." And the government's like, you know
fair
what?
enough.
We're going to
Mm,
do this for you. We're going to let you cigarettes in
mm,
casinos, and
mm.
now they're all billionaires, and that's a good thing. So I'm okay with that. There was a
Okay.
story about Cumberbatch or whatever his name is. his forefathers.
Benedict Cucumber Patch. Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
that's the guy. His
Yes.
forefathers were slave traders, and I know he was going to make a reparation for that. And I'm like, why? That's 300 years ago.
Yeah.
And who am I making it to?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
did you trace them all? And here's what's really interesting. You know, they had
Mm.
the Roanoke, Roanoke colony here. John
Yes.
Smith was a white guy, and he was a slave before he escaped to Roanoke.
Sorry,
So
that's in Virginia, right?
yeah, that's in Virginia.
Yes, I know the place. Yes,
Yes,
yes, yes.
Virginia. So my point is, so what up? And we've gotten to a point where we only record because we don't teach history or never really did. We got to a point where we don't say, "Hey, listen, white people were slaves as well." So if my ancestors were slaves, who do I go after? So let's look at the
Yeah.
bigger picture here. That we are so narrow focused on, and I truly, it's a terrible thing. So all the people of color. Don't
It
send
is
your.
terrible.
I don't give. I don't. I don't give about your fucking hate mail. Send it to David. He'll read it. I won't. My point is that I'm serious. I don't give a shit. I feel
Yeah.
bad for what happened, but I wasn't there. And my being an adult is to make sure going forward it doesn't happen again. So
Yeah,
I
that's what
can't
we've done
make
to do. Yeah.
right. I can't make
Yeah.
represent whatever because I don't know what happened. I don't have a list. And
Mm.
Cumberbatch or whatever his name is going, I'm going to make it better. Stop with this. It
Yeah.
happened. Let me do one
Yeah.
better. The Holocaust happened. I don't see Nazi Germany doing anything for me or the other Jews. In
Right.
fact, there's two brothers in Austria that can't get their house back. And 60 Minutes did a story on it because technically they can't prove it, even though they can prove it. It's their home because the U.S. now has it as a U.S. embassy. So let's cut the bullshit. And all right, it was a 60-minute story back in the 80s, and I was
Wow.
just shocked.
Right.
So it's how do I put it? If it makes you look good and feel good, you do it. But if it inconveniences you, you don't do it. And that's where the
Mm.
problem is. It's all this
Mm.
bull. And the other part of it is wokeism now. I find people are fed up with that. So it's like enough's enough.
Yeah.
We move forward. And I think what's happening is that you get these little spurts of, oh, you're white and you live in a country that's predominantly black and it's all your fault. Okay, so now we're going
Yeah.
to take it out on you.
Pretty much.
And
Yeah.
in 3 to 5 years, it'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, you're black and we're white. You took it out on us. We're going to take it out. Like, can we
Yeah.
stop just
Pendulum.
taking it out on
Ridiculous.
everybody? Right. This circle jerk has got to stop. And in America right now, it's to
Yeah.
your point, we're going to blame the immigrants. And I'm like, okay.
We got to blame someone.
Right. But what am I blaming them for?
I
They
know.
didn't do anything. I'm sorry, they ate dogs and cats in Springfield. But other than that, they didn't do
The richest guy in the
anything.
country is an immigrant, and he's from here. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Did he steal
But
all the
my whole
money? I
point
don't
is
know.
like, yeah, I don't get the logic. I think, unfortunately, somewhere in our DNA, our little 1-0 code, we are
Yeah.
they give just this little thing of hate. It's like, let's just tweak up the hate. So it kind of like it
Mm.
looks, you come out and you have to hate something. Hate
But
Bob.
Steve, I got to say something. You mentioned, and I've been wanting to sort of, I've sort of circled this topic a bit, but let's go. We're there now.
Okay.
So this country, for instance, I mean, I do not have a history at all. I mean, my parents said nothing. They came here when blah, 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 sort of 70s, and yes, apartheid was very much on the go. I remember when they arrived, they'd heard about it. They were kind of surprised by it, but they carried on.
Yeah.
And they carried on in their own way. So they didn't, of course, people say, I don't see color. Color's fine. You can see color.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only thing that makes English food palatable is that none of it is English. I mean, fact. Yeah, color's good. You want color. Color's great. Color's rhythm, color's food.
Right.
It's all good. So they
Yeah.
came here and they just carried on with their lives and they made friends of every description. And we as a family got into I wouldn't say we got into trouble, but we were certainly looked at a little suspiciously because my father worked as a bartender because he wanted to make some money on the side. And of course, all sorts of people came in there and some were not the greatest. And then he would socialize with them afterwards and go into areas where he probably legally shouldn't have gone because we had these we had the Group Areas Act where white people had to live in one area, black people had to live in another, and you had the Mixed Marriages Act where you couldn't marry a person of color. what disappointment. You're missing out there. But I'm just saying it's just
Yeah.
they looked at those laws as ridiculous. But there was an opportunity for them to come here. They were both hired. They came here and they carried on their lives. They had never been racist people. The country ostensibly, I guess, legally was quite racist.
Mhm.
Sure. Okay. And it was bad. No one thought, and certainly when I was growing up, no one thought, this apartheid thing is really cool. Everybody, from the time I was able to put a sentence together, formulate a political thought, we thought, it's ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, we've joked about tall and short people, but it's as ridiculous as that, right? The short people, you can't have these jobs. The tall people, you can't have those jobs. It doesn't make sense. It's ridiculous. And besides, this country's rugby suffered immeasurably. Now they're all great because, I mean, some of these African guys are the best athletes in the world. So imagine, look at all that, look at all that talent that was lost.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. No one denies that. We've never thought it was a good thing. Maybe in the 50s and 60s, they were happy about it. But certainly when we came here, my point is this: we have never thought, condoned, been a part of, been interested in, aligned ourselves to any kind of this racist bullshit, because it is bullshit. It is bullshit. We just want to compete. We don't care. Color is irrelevant. The way you speak, the way you sound, the way you think, it's irrelevant. And we know why the English folk came up with some of these racial things. I don't want to be all wokey here, but it was to, look, we're taking over India, we're taking over these places, we're bringing them our civilization because, European white culture, and we're helping them. Oh, okay, then it's fine. But that's a whole nother discussion. So we know all that. We absolutely, now we know that. And any fool that does that now, well, I mean, he's just going to get chopped up, figuratively. Figuratively. No, but I'm saying no one is going to start an apartheid country now and say, this is a great idea, unless he's a child.
We are.
Unless he's an idiot.
The Orange Man is basically gonna.
Yeah, but hang on, I'll get to the Orange Man in a sec. But what I'm saying is, certainly no one here in this country would do that. It wouldn't happen. So lessons have been learned, and I've said to so many people here, and may I say that most people of whatever melanin persuasion, they all kind of agree. I say the white folk that you are angry with are either dead, have moved to Australia, or immigrated to the UK. They don't live here anymore. Those people that benefited, they're gone. They couldn't handle it, or they didn't like the fact that there was now going to be a majority government, and they left. So the folks that are here believe in this place. They want to compete. They want to, if they've had an advantage, they want to share it with you. I'm not saying all of them, but most of them. You think, we woke up and we thought, right, we've gotten rid of that apartheid shit. It's gone. Now we're all just right here, bang, let's compete. And they introduced all kinds of legislation to ostensibly right that, but it was more window dressing than actual change. So we had corporate appointments that had to be based on how much melanin content you had, which is a little insulting to anybody of color, saying, well, you must be stupid. You can't get the job on your own. Okay, that's a fact. And there's people who are more than capable. We've got some very smart people who are not white. So, there you go. And they're very competitive and smart, brilliant people. So I flip it around and I say to people, so basically what it means is I certainly wouldn't want to get a gig because of what I look like. I want people to recognize what's in my head, what I sound like. And we've got a situation now in this country where not many, but there's maybe, let's say there's 50 million people of color in this country. Maybe 3 million of them have benefited from all this political legislation. But the other 47 million are possibly worse off and just as frustrated as they ever were. But now there's no one to guilt. Now there's no white folk in power. They can say what's going on. It's their brothers that are running the place who are going, no, we actually like all this money. We're going to keep it. Now, it's not a color thing. That's just a human condition. If you put people, if you put the children in the principal's office, they're going to go, wow, this is great. Anybody would. I say to people, if you put me in charge of a oil company, it would be bankrupt in 6 months, maybe sooner, maybe 2 days. I don't know anything about it. My point is, you've got to compete. You've got to educate. You've got to learn. There is no shortcut. There's no racial advantage that should be offered to anybody for that. You should pay the dues, get the job done. Our rugby team is an example of that here in this country, where there isn't a single player in that side, and there are all colors, that has
Right.
got there because of anything other than talent. And they
Right.
are currently the world champions. Job done. Done.
Right.
There you go. That's what you want. Yes, there are people that are going to. I mean, look at your NBA. I mean,
Mhm.
no one complains about the lack of white folk in it, but here's the truth. Here's the truth. A lot of there is a genetic advantage enjoyed by a lot of black folk in the US because of situations before. But these guys are big, they're strong, they definitely superior athletes,
Mhm.
and everyone applauds that. And that's fine. That's great. But that's just the way it is. What I'm saying is you're a product of your history,
Mhm.
rightly or wrongly, justifiably or not. There you are. You're sitting in the White House, you're on the NBA court, wherever you are. Now it should be about talent. But
I
if you
agree.
start trying to unglue all that constantly by using people for anything other than talent, appointing them, use whatever, it's not going to work, because that pendulum that I think you mentioned or I mentioned, it swings the other way. And we don't
Mhm.
want a situation in 30, 40 years where you have the opposite problem, where we're just appointing white people in this country because they were so disadvantaged.
Right.
Why would you do that?
So,
Let's just go on the playing field, go on the playing ground, and
yeah.
compete. And if anybody
Yeah.
feels hard done by, welcome to life.
Hey,
That's just the way it is.
welcome to the planet
And
Earth.
and one final thing, if I may say, about 80% of what I'm dishing out now, this diatribe, doesn't come from my so-called white friends.
Right.
This comes from youngish professionals of color that I work with, some of
Right.
whom are my friends, some of them I actually have a beer with. No, I don't drink beer, wine with.
Mm.
They say to me, they have said to me, I don't know what
Mm.
their journey is. I have no idea what they've been through or what their parents have been through. Of course I don't. And they don't know mine. They know that. The one guy's got about 3 degrees. He studied around the world. He works for a banking. He works for HSBC. He's
Okay.
an investment banker, I think a bit like you, something to do
Right.
with your world. And he's ridiculously smart, far superior in that than I am. And he doesn't need a racial advantage to get that job. He'll kick
Right.
my ass every time.
Yeah.
That's my point. And that's fine. That's just humanity.
Yeah.
But we've got to remember things. We've got to remember the Holocaust. We've got to remember apartheid, educate people so that they don't do it again. Because
Correct.
you mentioned the Holocaust. What's happening in Europe right now is very disturbing, because they have not listened. They have not remembered their history. And I'm not saying they're going back to what they were 50, 60, 70 years ago, but there's a movement towards it. There's a fed upness. And I see it in the US as well. As I say, our demographics here are a little different, but I'm saying if I look at what's going on in the US, you had Trump at Madison Square Garden. Look what happened just before the Second World War. There was a Nazi rally, a very famous Nazi rally, America First. And you go, my God, if you're old enough as a historian with a good enough memory, you're going, I've seen this movie before. Anyway.
Yeah. We've been
Dude,
saying that we've seen this movie before for the last 2 years. So, I mean, it's like, and there's a book called It Can't Happen Here. And that book,
Yeah.
if you read that book, it's exactly Trump's playbook. There's an assassination attempt. There's this.
But it's not
just
him.
fascinating. book to read
Steve,
here.
Steve, I
This
just
is
want to say
public. This
this
is people. Yeah.
because it often
Well,
comes up and
no,
people
it
say,
is.
I'm not anti-Trump. I am not anti-Trump. He should be allowed
Right,
to
right.
say whatever the hell he wants.
I agree.
Absolutely. I don't have to agree with it, but he can
Right.
say what, and you don't have to agree with it. But he, of course, he
speech.
should be able to go to every rally. He can serve as
Yep.
many McDonald's fries as he wants. He's fine. It's not him.
Yeah, I agree.
He's not the problem. He is the symptom. He is the symptom of the problem. The fact that a guy like that in such a sophisticated, economically strong country like the US, the fact that he can get into that position, it's not his fault. Who wouldn't want that? I mean, come on. It's fantastic to be the guy and serve fries and talk crap at a rally. I don't begrudge him that at all.
Yeah.
I don't begrudge him that at all. And he's got his finger on the pulse of something. That's the truth. So he's not the problem. Not at all.
Well,
Not at all.
he's part of it. He's the
Well, he's
interesting
the
part is-
symptom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The New York Times and everybody is putting out like what this next 4 years or however many years would look like under him. And it's like very scary when it's like, get rid of political appointments, put more things under him, do this, people that are loyal. I mean, when you read it, I'm like, oh, I read this book. It was a red book. With a guy with a mustache. So that's it. But, you know, hey, listen, on Tuesday,
Yeah.
people will go to the polls. And
Yeah.
it used to be on Tuesday, you'd go to bed, you wake up Wednesday morning. I was a kid. I remember I would get the paper and I'd be like, oh, Jimmy Carter's president or Ronald Reagan's president or this. You'd read the
Yeah.
paper in the morning and there's a president.
Yeah.
This time,
Yeah.
I think there's going to be so much legal mumbo jumbo
Could be a
that
while.
we may not know who our president is until maybe the end of November, beginning of December. And even then, we may not know. So it's going to be interesting for our country. The other thing I wanted to say, we were talking about, you know, different people and people shouldn't be prejudiced. Now, I will say that a short person shouldn't be able to stock shelves. Like a midget can't do that job. I'm just saying right off the bat.
What job?
Yeah, like if you're a shelf stocker at a supermarket, you know, you have those shelves that are pretty high. So if you're
Right.
like a little person, and I'm talking
Right.
like, you know, like a Brad Williams that you're like 2 feet, 3 feet, you can't get 6 feet up. I don't care. A little step ladder is not going to do it for you. So yeah, there's some jobs you can't do. But I'm just saying. And with Trump, I thought I'd break the tensions. And with Trump,
Yes,
we're going to go back
good.
to isolation. We're going to go back to isolationists, which is what happened before World War II. And remember, it was all about America internally. And the only reason we got involved, for the people that don't know history, with World War II, not because we thought the Nazis were bad or we didn't like the Germans. The reason we got involved is because they bombed Pearl Harbor. And at that point, the United States was like, oh, shit, we have to actually do something. And because Churchill made numerous trips over here and was pleading with FDR constantly to be
His
involved.
mother was American, right? Churchill.
Yeah.
His mother was American.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
So he's effectively
yeah.
a U.S. citizen. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was pleading, and they were all like, "No, not our problem, not our problem, not our problem." And then all of a sudden,
That's the you problem. That's where
That's
that came
right.
from.
right? And then all of a sudden, some people from across the other pond decided they were going to take a holiday, and they didn't like the hotel bill, and they bombed the island. So, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
America's like, we should probably get involved because this isn't good. And so we got involved because Japan was an ally of Germany. And all of a sudden, now America was like, well, we have to go to war. Okay. And what's happening is that the way Mr. Trump seems to be doing it is he's going to be an isolationist. If you read all the articles in The Economist or the Financial Times, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, I can go on. Every politician or general in Europe and even in Asia, they're like, here's the what if scenarios we've come up with. None of them are good because, as I've said, when way back when Trump was like, hey, NATO, write a check, which I agree with. Listen, some of his policies I agree with. Is its rhetoric I get a little worried about, but some of his policies I agree with. The NATO people are like, so how is he going to carve out or make peace in the Ukraine? A lot of them think he's going to be like, hey, Putin, just go ahead and roll over. Whatever.
Steve, I got to say a few things quickly. One, this actually speaks to what I began the conversation with. It's the concern that I have, but I'm trying to be clear, I'm trying to be devil's advocate here. But the concern I'm raising is I know this is weird, intolerance of intolerance. Would that be?
Okay.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, yes, there are white people on the earth. No, they didn't enslave everybody.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying is that in the US, you've got a very overt example of where people are going, you know what? Enough of this crap.
Right.
Enough of this crap. And our spokesman is Donald. And that's it. It's as simple as that. Because it's as simple as that. So here's the weird thing. I don't necessarily blame Trump. I don't even necessarily blame his supporters. I blame, if we have to blame anyone, I blame people who pushed, say, for civil rights or the abolition of apartheid here, and then they're carrying on. And you're going, no, hang on. We've gotten rid of it now. Everyone agrees. Now stop trying to demonize people who have some genetic link to people who did this in the past, because then you're going to create another problem. I understand revenge is in your DNA, but can we just drop that? Be the better person. Just drop that shit now. Otherwise, it's going to be like an Italian mafia war that never ends.
Right.
And what I'm saying is this is an example of what I mean. If you keep pushing people, if you keep demonizing them, using words like deplorables or what did Joe Biden say the other day, garbage, you've got to be so careful of saying that, because people go, oh, are we garbage? Oh, okay.
What
we voting
happened
for
at the Trump
Donald.
rally?
It's as simple as that.
The
And
Trump
they're
rally.
not learning their lesson. That's what I'm saying. They're not learning their lesson. They're not.
Mhm.
If you, I know it's very easy just to be throwing stones at someone. Oh, you did that. You did that.
Mhm.
But then they throw them back.
Mhm.
And that's what happens. And then we keep throwing, and no one ever puts the damn stones down. And that's what we've got right now. I completely understand why people might feel aggrieved to the past. Like you said, you can pick a group. I mean, why isn't every Jew in the world pissed off about what happened in the Holocaust?
Right.
Because they created businesses. They got on with it. They said, "Fuck
Yeah.
it. What am I going to do?" And they honestly had the most extraordinary case to be pissed off and play victim forever for what
Right.
happened.
Right.
They were the Jews were picked on. Their families were killed in the most horrific way. I mean, go and read history. Go and watch The World at War. One of the best series the BBC ever did. It's actually very good. Narrated by Sir Laurence Olivier. It's a fantastic documentation. If you can't read, watch that. It's brilliant, and you will see. You will get an idea. And that was made in 1972, which is only about 27 years after the end of the Second World War. But I'm saying there is that was just the other day. Historically, it was the other day. And yet you got all these people that apparently, own the world media, whatever. Jokes aside, they said, you know what? We're just going to get on with it and do stuff. And that anyone can do that. It's not a Jewish thing. It's a people thing. You can either say, I feel I'm a victim and I should be entitled to everything in the future. Or I can say, that's not the way humanity works. I'm going to make my own world. And to be honest with you, that is what the Jews have done. And that is why there's a lot of, the only thing I can ascribe all this anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic feeling is because they're jealous. They're going, look at those people. They got on with it. They did it. Well, anybody can. You can either say,
the space lasers.
The world hates me. What?
Except for the space lasers, that's our thing. You can't have that. So.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. Fine. Well, when you say you, I mean, my father was Jewish, but I wasn't raised Jewish. But so I've got one foot in the
camp, in the tribe,
something. Yeah,
in the tribe.
And I got the snip. I got the snip. So I mean, but I'm just saying. But I'm just saying the whole thing is that look, we can all sit around the campfire and point fingers at people who've done stupid shit to us. Everybody can. Everybody.
Yes.
But you can make the decision to say, right, let's put the stones down and do something. It's not a kumbaya moment. It's not a, oh, look at me. No, you can either blame someone or blame yourself. Now, the weird thing about blaming yourself is you've got control over that. You can say, you can wake up in the morning, feel depressed, have a drink or whatever, exercise and say, right, what can I do? And you put the I back in your life and you say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure shit out. We've got, I mean, there's a story of a guy here. Let me give you an example. I've got two stories for you. The one is I went to a fancy school, but one of my classmates was a Zulu guy. And obviously this is now the 80s. So that was right in the middle of apartheid. You can imagine what his father went through. His father had no formal education. He was a shepherd boy who schemed and dreamed and then got a job at a trading store. It's called like a trading store here. And worked and worked and worked and worked. He could have blamed everybody for his situation. Was he smart? I don't know, but he was astute. And he got on with it. He learned how things were packed, buying and selling within the trading store, all on the job. Eventually, he became the manager, and he saved and saved and saved. It took him a long time, and he eventually bought that store. And then he bought another one and another one and another one. And he was then able to send his son in the middle of apartheid to the fancy school that I certainly couldn't have afforded. I only got there because I had like a 90% scholarship. But what I'm saying is his father got on with it. He could have he could have just sat by the river and said, you know what, I've got to blame someone. So that's what he did. Then there's another story of a woman here in this country as well. I'm not saying everybody is this entrepreneurial, but sometimes you just have to be. She was like a domestic servant, what you would call it. She was a servant in a house.
Right.
Yeah, like a butler, but she would clean and iron and do all that. And there's a lot of that.
Right.
Yeah. They call them a domestica. It's the sort of the correct term. Or a char. I don't know what that means. So she did that. She worked her ass off. And one day she was at the airport with the guy who employed her, and she was helping put bags into the car. And she obviously noticed the airport and spoke to some of the cleaners there and the people. And she thought, well, I can clean.
Right.
And here's an airport. and she got talking to them in her own language.
Right.
Schemed and dreamed, exchanged numbers, and she then left her job as a domestic, joined the airport cleaning company. And I mean, airports are not the greatest place to clean, but she
Right.
learned the trade. Long story short, now some 20 years later, she owns the cleaning company that services all the airports, and she is worth God knows how much money. So, and it depends. She could have blamed her past. She could have
Yeah.
expected something, or she could have got on with it, what she did. There's nothing stopping you, only your damn self.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying you're going to have all the skill. I'm not saying you're going to have all the advantages. But when you stop blaming everyone and you start looking at yourself, that's the only opportunity you have to actually do something. But if you're constantly just putting out energy to other people and blaming them, there's nothing. You can't do anything. There's nothing for you to do. You wasting all your energy on all of this. And that's the thing that really annoys me, because this place, this country has got, if you look at it on a map, strategically, it's in a superb position. The climate's amazing. There is space. There's so much that hasn't been done. There is tons of opportunity, yet we still have a system where we've got to advantage certain people. And that's what's killing the country's economy. I don't care whether, people can say what they like, but that's a fact. The people that create businesses need to know that they don't have to give their businesses away. Otherwise, they won't open them. And no one wants to have this conversation. And it goes on and on and on. Everyone's sitting around saying, we need more efficiency. We need this. No, you need to stop disadvantaging the people that could actually do this. And if they all happen to be Indian, white, black, purple, whatever, so what? So what? Because then you'll get to enjoy a great economy where your kids can go to school and the money will be coming in and investors will feel confident about putting money into the country. The reason why the economy is picking up now is because we have this sort of coalition government, and people from around the world can say what they like, but they won't invest here unless they know their money's safe. And they're starting to think their money could be safe. And that's because there's a glint of possibility that we might be going, this whole racial thing of appointing people it's not the greatest. Let's just get the right people. And you know what? Most of them will be people of color, because 85% of the country, outside the country, is not white. It's just going to happen.
Well, we were going to do a deal there a few years ago, and we pulled out because of a whole bunch of reasons. So we're like, no, not yet. You're not ready. So
no, we're not. And there is, what's frustrating though, Steve, is that I've got a friend of mine in the US who's just secured some distributorship. I'm not going to get into it now, in South Africa, and he tried to do this 15 years ago. And he was told, well, you're going to have to give away 51% of your business to local people of color. And he said, I'm not doing that. Why would I do that? It's my business. I will work with you. I will help you. And hey, I've got nothing to do with your country. So the moment they drop that, not a lot will change in terms of, how can I say, people will still get appointed. It's not like everybody will lose business. In fact, business will pick up.
Right.
And then people can feel free to hire who they want. And that's what businesses need. Businesses don't care about politics. Money doesn't care about politics at all. But what this place needs is money. And unless it learns to drop. So you've got economics has got to dictate politics. That's how it's got to work. Economics is money, and politics must follow and say, hey, what can I do to help you make money? What business incentive do you need? What people can say what they like. That's how you change the world. This world we live in, that's how you change it. You need money. So you've got to be that good old capitalist. Look at what Singapore does. Let me give an example. My mum's company that she worked for, they had this whole racial thing, and they eventually closed down and moved to Singapore with 100th of the staff, and they're making 3 times more than they were here. So that's one example of a business that said, you know what? I'm not dealing with this. I will donate. I will be involved with. I will help you. I will build schools or whatever. But don't stop me from making money. Don't tell me how I should hire people. I know what I'm doing. You do you. I will do the business. And I don't care what people look like. I'm just going to hire the best people. Eventually, that became a problem. It impacted his business. There were protests, whatever. He said, fine. And he took that business acumen he had. Yes, of course, he had an advantage Don't you want that advantage? Don't you want him to teach you how it works? Don't fight him. They didn't want to work with him. So he's living in Singapore now. And when he got to Singapore, I remember when he expressed an interest in it, he phoned up some people there and they said, yes, we'd love to have you here. What is your business? He said, I make footwear. Great. They paid for his flight. They checked him out.
Oh, wow.
They checked him out. The Singaporeans did, trust me, these are smart people. They checked him out. They saw what he did. They said, fine. They flew him over because he says, I'll book a ticket. No, sir, we'll book your ticket. Where are you going to stay? I don't know. No, we'll set you up. So they put him up in a hotel. I mean, obviously they knew what they were doing. They wanted his business. They're not giving him free holiday. So they got him over there. They checked him out. They saw what his business was about. They chatted. He got there. The first day he was there, they took him around, showed him potential factories, sites, because he knew nothing. And they said, we'll help you. We'll help you. We'll even give you a tax break for, 5 years. We just want you in the country. And that's what happened. And now 15 odd years later, he's there. So he's been feeding the Singaporeans taxes for 10 years. Big money, which he could have done here.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's the world. And the thing that annoys me about this place is it wants everyone to feel sorry for it. The world doesn't care about South Africa. It doesn't care.
People don't know where it is.
Why would it? Why would it? It doesn't care. We helped you get rid of apartheid. Now go up and just get on with it.
Put on your pants.
Does that sound unfair? I don't care. That's just, what are we going to do? Fight the whole world? Oh, you should feel sorry for us and we this and I want to drop some final bomb before I go because I got to go.
They say you got to go.
And that is this. I just want to say, I can't imagine, and I'm not going to, in all seriousness, I can't imagine the intricacies and the complications of the Middle East. I don't get involved. It's got nothing to do with me. I have no idea who's who, what, so I'm not going to say anything. Right. And that's the policy that this country should adopt. We have no business telling another country like that what they should do. Whether we're right or wrong, it's immaterial. We can help, we can support. We shouldn't be, it's not what do we know? We don't know. We don't know what's going on. So either way, you're gonna annoy someone, you're gonna piss someone off. So the best thing is we'll host you, we'll help you have a conference, but we're not going to take sides because we don't know enough. We're not connected to that. We'll help you. It's kind of like what America should do as well.
But the good thing,
it's not our fight.
Right, but the good thing all the university students in America know. So that's the important thing.
I'm not saying don't be sympathetic. If you want to send money to someone, be my guest. Go have at it. But when you start jumping in a fight that you know nothing about,
no, I agree.
And we don't. We just don't. You can do all the research you want. I mean, whatever. It's this is a history that goes back thousands of years. But you can say whatever you need, we'll help you. Both sides will help you. We are upset that you're fighting. It's the same with the whole Russian-Ukraine thing. Yeah. I mean,
before we go down all this, you have to go.
Yeah.
You have
I have to go. It's been fun.
Thank you. Don't forget to watch us next Thursday live.
I think we threw some rocks in the lake. I feel we created some ripples. Good.
And remember, any nasty comments, direct them at David. Don't forget to subscribe and like. You can listen to the podcast later on today on Thursday. You can see this rebroadcasted on Thursday, and you can catch us live next week. And if you're someone of color that's in power and you want to come on and talk about what we talked about with us, feel free to reach out to the show and we'll have you on the show. Go ahead.
3 words. Yes. Freedom of speech.
There you go.
Before you get all offended. Everybody.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all later. Cheers.
Thank you so much for listening to this Robb Vega, whatever the hell he wants to call himself, fellow. You know, this podcast thing, it makes him feel very important, and he's a difficult fellow as it is to deal with. So thank you so much for putting up with him, and do take care.